Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to set out my thoughts to subscribers on something that I've talked about on and off ever since I first started growing this channel at the beginning of 2019. What happens when there's a seismic shift in the political landscape, as we are expecting in basically about 5 weeks? And just to be clear, this is me talking about YouTube and my strategy for it. This is not a political commentary video. But lots of people ask me what might change on the channel as the government changes, so I'm going to go over that here. I'm also going to say there is probably another channel related video I want to do, maybe next week, something like that, because this is like arguably what the channel has been building up for this little period here. But in terms of changes, it is something I have often thought about. You know, when it comes to YouTube, there are some channels where you either grow or you don't. And if you do, there's no reason not to be able to maintain it as long as you maintain your energy for it. If, for example, you manage to grow a cooking channel, well, there's no reason not to keep it going because you'll never be short of material and there's no reason why you would lose your audience. On the other end of the scale, if you do, say, gaming content, as I once did, you run the risk of losing interest in that game or the game loses popularity. I've seen many a YouTuber fall to this. It's why I always said, even as I was actively trying to grow a gaming channel, I never wanted to do it full time. Politics is a different beast again. If you're into politics, you're probably always into politics. But politics can change a great deal, which means the audience can potentially be unstable, unless, of course, you just hate everything. Then you can keep the outrage coming regardless of political changes. But I'm not really about outrage for the sake of outrage. So I have to think about the road ahead. Because right now I am several things. I am anti-Tory. Well, that stays. I'm pro-EU and pro-rejoin fully. That stays. I'm pro-Labour. That stays. I'm pro-electoral reform. That stays. But I'm currently anti-government. Now, although Labour in government are bound to do some things that I think are unnecessarily wrong and worthy of criticism, that is to say, pursue a policy that I think is a bad policy that also cannot be excused by pragmatic politicking, just as they did last time. Or actually, it can be the other way around. It could be a good policy, but one that's going to cost them at the next election, in which case, should you be doing it in that way? But let's be honest, I'm going to suddenly start being way more positive about the government than I have been over the last 5 years. And because it's impossible to predict where Labour will make strategic errors or what I see as strategic errors, they will all come as unwelcome surprises. You know, I don't expect, and actually certainly don't want, this to happen often enough to be a feature of the channel. The three main sources of strife that I do foresee with Labour in power are going to be, first, Brexit policies. Are they moving fast enough? Second, electoral reform. Ditto. Third, their continuing incompetence when it comes to messaging and social media in particular. But who knows? Maybe they will exceed my expectations in all three cases. You know, like take Brexit, for example. I'm still going to keep highlighting the problems we're suffering unnecessarily as a result of Brexit. Now, I am fair. I understand that Labour can't just pull a lever and make it go away. But that does not mean I just carry on chuntering about the Tories and leave it at that. If we have a problem, I expect a Labour government to address it as best they can. Blame is less important to me than solutions. And when Labour are in power, they are responsible for the solutions, regardless of whose fault it is that we have the problem. But in terms of the immediate aftermath, let's consider what's going to happen. So first of all, the new government will be formed. There's no likelihood of controversy here. We sort of know who that's going to. There may be some junior ministerial positions change around. That's basically it. They will then begin to legislate. They'll have limited time to do so before the summer recess, unless they cancel it. So they'll begin to legislate. They'll begin to amend guidance. They'll work on their autumn budget statement. It will largely be in line with expectations. There are some things I want to pay attention to. I want to pay attention to how quickly they change the guidance on two major areas. First of all, benefits. Though Labour have said they're going to stop the basically the sort of unnecessarily punitive measures, the random sanctions. They can stop that immediately because that's a matter of government guidance. They don't have to legislate for that. They can just announce this is stopping. Second thing is what they're going to be doing with dodgy deportations. Now, people who've gone through the asylum processed properly and have failed their asylum claim, okay. What about those who haven't really had a proper hearing? So those are the two things I'm going to pay very careful attention to. But beyond that, a lot of what they do initially is going to be in line with expectations, because we know what their broad policies are, and we'll have the manifesto of a few more details as well. But results take time. Every time I discuss government policy, it's going to be empirical thinking, because there will be no data for a long time. We have a 24/7 news cycle which breeds impatience, but politics takes a long time to go from prepping the ingredients to serving the cooked meal. So early government activity is not likely to be fertile ground for daily political commentary. Which is not to say political news will go from insanity level 11 to calm and tranquil. The Conservatives will still be a thing, and they will still need countering, and they could get crazier. I think the focus in the immediate aftermath will be as much on the Tories as Labour, because they should be on for another civil war to determine their next lunatic in chief. In terms of what I expect the content to focus on in the days after the election, it will be reactive as it always is, but what I would expect is, first, comparing the results with various pollsters. I definitely want to do some of this. I'm not going to bore you with stats, don't worry, but I definitely want to do the odd video where I'm looking at, because I always cite YouGov and Ipsos as the gold standard. That is based on, yes, their methodology, but mostly their results. At the end of the day, that's how you judge them. They get the results. Every pollster is up for reappraisal after this election, and my pecking order may change. Some pollsters at the moment I pay no heed to because they're new. I'm not picking on them as such. It's just that, I want some results. So I'll wait for their results. In fact, the general election debrief could result in the odd video for weeks or even months to come. Second, the Tory civil war, because that will be both important and entertaining in equal measure. I'm hoping it will be a small affair with just a few dozen MPs, but I don't know at this stage. And third will be how Labour are implementing their mandate in practice, because that news, it's not exactly going to be fast and furious. One of the most important things Labour need to do actually is make the political process boring again. The interest should be in the results, not the process, and the results take a long time. So as I see it, there are two major changes probably coming. I say probably, I can't see the future. If I could, I would have won the lottery a few times by now. But there are two major shifts which seem likely. The first is that crazy politics may die down, won't disappear. The Tories will still be a thing, and Labour are pretty good at, picking fights with themselves as well. And then you've got the extracurricular nutters poking at both of them from weird think tanks. But the scandals are likely to die down a bit, which means the source material may be increasingly more technical, measured, and potentially less controversial to as wide an audience. Indeed, I hope that is what happens. The second is that regardless of who is in government, there are always way more people opposed to something that government is doing than supporting it. Amongst the politically interested audience, who tend to be very polarised, there's always a larger potential audience for being against something than for something. Which is why the best model for doing political YouTube is probably to be against everything. But that's not my model. Now, it may well be that the impact of these two things is small, and I don't need to do anything different. So I will continue doing what I do as normal and working reactively, but with a plan. Because I've also thought of a few things which may change depending on the need. Here are some things that I have been thinking about should the need arise. The first is the pattern of video. So when people are selecting videos to watch on YouTube, there's a sort of risk-reward calculation going on in their heads. If the thumbnail and title is appealing, say, okay, that's interesting. They might click on it, but they have to work out the chances that it could be disappointing and how much time they're going to... Like, sometimes if I'm looking up how to do something on, say, Photoshop, you present me with a video that says it'll do it in 3 minutes and one that'll do it in 8. I'll click the one for 3 minutes first. It may be crap, I may have to go to the 8, but I'll try the quicker one first. People do that as well, even with discussions. So video length comes into it. A particular topic might be worth risking 5 minutes of someone's time, but not 10, or 10 but not 15. The way I've generally worked so far is to produce videos that I have done shorter ones and I've done very long, but they're mostly bouncing between about 10 and 15 minutes long. That way, it's not a full-blown lecture, which would struggle for views, but it's something I can get my teeth into. But what if I struggle to do 2 videos a day like this? Because the problem with producing videos which don't get many views, you get away with the odd one. Like this one, for example, won't get that many views. And every now and then I put out an important message, which I know won't get many views, but it's important to do it. The odd one's fine. But if it's regular, then your overall views on average are going down. You poison your own channel. YouTube recommends videos based on how likely they think people want to watch them. If they see that videos are starting to be watched less or the retention is lower, they'll recommend it to fewer people. So it could be better in that instance to go, okay, I can do 1 solid main video a day, and that's basically it, in which case it's better to do that. But maybe another, maybe even 2 others potentially, shorter reaction videos to news, few minutes. Another option would be to do 1 main video and 1 half-hour live stream each weekday, because for algorithm purposes, the live streams are considered differently to your long form. So you can't poison your long form video recommendations with live streams. Sorry, hit the mic. So that's a possibility, at which point I'd then have to work out the best time to do that. Maybe 4 p.m. in the afternoon or something UK time. But that would be for a poll later, should I decide, yes, let's try that. None of this is probably imminent, by the way, and none of this may happen. It's just what I've been thinking about as possibilities, rather than have something happen and me panic and do something reactionary, right? The general election campaign, of course, will be the storm before the calm. No shortage of crazy. In fact, annoyingly, really annoying, I don't think I'm going to be able to do a video on the first TV debate next week. It's absolutely crushing to me. I'd already arranged to go down to London next Wednesday. The debate itself seems to be on very late in the evening. It's really stunningly bad timing. I may just be able to do a very quick initial thought straight after it's over and published for the first video on Wednesday. I don't even know if I'd have time to do that. But Sunak mucking about with my schedule aside here, even though the schedule may not be quite his fault this time, but I'll blame him anyway. There will still be loads to talk about next month and the first couple of weeks in July. After then, that's when I'll be keeping an eye on things and ready to switch things up a bit if there's a change. So in summary, it is possible that there will be changes to both the availability of suitable source material and the potential audience. I'm not going to behave as if this is definitely true. I will assume it is likely. I've been thinking of some ways to adapt, but I'm only going to do so if the data says I need to do so. Realistically, there's always need to critically evaluate performance and change things over time anyway. I've already done it several times in the past 5 years. And if the need arises, it will be a case of trial and improvement. I won't know exactly what to do, so there will be experimentation. So there we are. That's how I'm seeing things at the moment. Let me know your thoughts as usual. And until next time, I'll see you later.